Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. and today we got timeline video. God damn it, I hate this thing so much. We got timeline video for 1977. It's the groovy year of rumors, Son of Sam, and Star Wars. And we gonna get right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit subscribe button, comment, stick down below, let's go.
1977 made it clear from the word go that a whole lot of things were about to change. A newly elected president made dramatic moves to heal an ailing nation. One of the biggest icons of the 20th century was laid to rest, and snow fell in Miami. Like actual snow, not the kind of snow Crockett and Tubbs normally dealt with. It was
Well, they probably want some of that too. There will always be some of that in Miami and Florida. Florida's a special type of place I love.
a year of dramatic debuts, escapes, and departures. And we don't mean people coming and going from the roller rink. Okay, we don't just mean that. It was also the year that audiences around the world were first transported to a galaxy far, far away, and the relationship between grown adults and action figures would never be the same again. We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports and entertainment, and all that was weird in the 70s. This is Timeline.
Timeline!
Get ready to hitch a ride to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters, because this episode is all about 1977. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel, and
Subscribe to their channel, subscribe to my channel too. Subscribe to my channel too.
let us know in the comments below your all-time favorite 70s jam. Now fire up that Atari, because this is 1977. Starting the year would make us all mad as hell as actor Peter Finch passed away on the 14th. Finch had appeared on The Tonight Show the night before he succumbed to a heart attack in his hotel. Later that year, Finch would become the first actor to win a posthumous Oscar, nabbing a gold statue for his role in Network, which was the...
Interesting, so he was on Tonight Show beforehand. Before dying of a heart attack. And if I heard that right, he's the first actor to win an award after he has died. Did I hear that right? For this movie Network? That's a hell of an accomplishment. Too bad he didn't know. He has no idea of it.
The movie he had been on The Tonight Show to promote.
My dear Tattoo, when each guest is paying $50,000 for a 3-day stay on Fantasy Island, he or she deserves miracles.
Snow fell in Miami for the first time in recorded history on January 19th, as an Arctic cold front swept through the Sunshine State. On January 19th, as an...
Okay, any wrestling fan down here, if there's any that are watching this, tell me this man does not look like Tony Schiavone. Like old 80s Tony Schiavone. Tell me this man does not look like Tony Schiavone, and I'll tell you you're a liar.
Arctic cold front swept through the Sunshine State. Previously, the furthest south snow had ever fallen in Florida was near Fort Myers, back in 1899. So yeah, it was kind of a big deal. Speaking of firsts, President Jimmy Carter pardoned hundreds of thousands of American men who evaded the draft during the Vietnam War in his first month in office. Carter had promised to pardon draft dodgers as part of his presidential campaign, arguing that it would help move the country forward and heal the wounds of the divisive and costly conflict.
Oh, no, that's your African.
That is interesting. So he went to all the people who avoided drafting, and I missed what he actually did with them, but he meant to go deal with them.
Name must have give you a new name. Must have say you name Toby. Hey, what's the matter with you? Cut me loose. Kunta Kinte.
Moving
Well, that looks like a movie that is going to get some attention.
into February, disasters struck on the 4th, when 4 cars of a loop elevated train in Chicago jumped the track in the middle of rush hour.
What?
The accident claimed the lives of 11 commuters and injured 200 others. Over 40 years later, it remains the worst elevated train disaster in the history of the Chicago Transit Authority.
Holy shit, I can just imagine you're sitting at the corner, you're waiting for something to come, and this fucking train fucking flings up the damn track, just lands it. Oh my god, that would scar me for life. That would scar me for fucking life, I tell you. God damn.
Disaster of a more artistic sort struck that same day when Fleetwood Mac released their groundbreaking album, Rumors. Recorded over an 11-month period that saw the band's 5 members get really into illicit substances and implode their personal relationships. But it was all worth it for music lovers.
Oh my god, so their entire relationship pretty much got suffered just on the build of being there, just getting his track done. Just getting his album done. That's all they wanted. By the time it was actually done and ready to be and released to the public, this entire freaking band's relationships had all fallen.
Rumors went on to top the Billboard charts for 31 weeks, score an Album of the Year Grammy, and sell more than 40 million copies, making it one of the best-selling albums ever produced. Moving into the world of sports, boxer Sugar Ray Leonard made his professional debut on the 5th of February, stepping into the ring with Luis the Bull Vega at the Civic Center in Baltimore. However, Leonard had won a gold medal in the Olympics as a light welterweight the previous year, so he wasn't exactly a novice. He defeated Vega by unanimous decision, beginning a 20-year career that would earn him the reputation as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time.
Awesome.
3 days later, adult magazine publisher Larry Flynt was sentenced to 7 years on obscenity and organized crime charges.
Man who adult film magazine writer sentenced to 7 years in prison for organized crime charges. Of course he was. Of course he was. I wouldn't expect anything less from a man who writes an adult film magazine. I'm sorry. Sound like people do that, especially in the 70s. Oh yeah.
The organized crime being the distribution of Flynt's Hustler magazine. The sentence was over.
Oh my god, so his own magazine, the magazine he wrote, got him in jail for 7 years. Unbelievable. I don't want you writing that magazine, boy.
Turned, and Flynt was released after serving only 6 days in jail. The trial was one of several brush.
How did it get over? It got overturned. How did it go in the first place? If it was that bad that he could have got overturned, how on earth did it last and he get sentenced in the first place?
With the law Flynt had due to the graphic content of his magazine, and would eventually get a movie in 1996's The People vs. Larry Flynt, starring Woody Harrelson as Flynt. The real-life Flynt has a cameo as Judge William Morrissey, the man who handed him the 7-year prison sentence. Just over 3 weeks later, Pistol Pete Maravich set an NBA record on February 25th, when he scored 68 points against the New York Knicks, the most ever for a guard at the time. Maravich's record-setting game was played before the three-point line existed, which makes it all the more impressive. To this day, Maravich is one of only 8 NBA players to score 68 points or more during a single game. The first killer whale born in captivity came into this world on the 28th. Marineland of the Pacific.
Wait, what? The first killer whale born in captivity was done that year? Did I hear that right?
Born in captivity.
Born in captivity. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, how do we know this the first one that's done that's been captive, so people knew it was born. Okay. Makes more sense. My bad.
Came into this world on the 28th. Marineland of the Pacific star attraction, Corky 2, unexpectedly gave birth to a calf, but sadly the baby only lived for 11 days.
Oh.
And while Marineland of the Pacific closed its doors for good in 1987, Corky 2 is still alive and kicking, or flipping, I suppose. At approximately 57 years of age, she is the oldest living orca in captivity. Moving into March, Bank of America adopted the name.
Listen, I'm just gonna say one thing. You are lucky that whale has not done anything. The fact that whale is still alive at 50-some years old, and the fact that whale had not decided it's had enough of all your asses in Marineland is lucky. That whale really likes being there, I think. It is true entertainment through and through.
Visa for its credit card program on the 1st. Previously, the card had been known as the Bank Americard. and was a joint program with several other financial institutions. Why Visa? The company's founders believed the word was simple enough to be recognized in any language. And that prediction turned out to be true. Today, Visa is the second largest bank card organization in the world.
I'm about to say I have a Visa card. I have a Visa card.
Hey, it's everywhere you want to be. The next day, Jay Leno made his first appearance on The Tonight Show on the 2nd of March. Leno's stand-up featured observational one-liners about current events, punctuated by some playful crowd work. All elements that would become staples of his opening monologues 15 years later, when Leno took over hosting duties from Carson on May 25, 1992.
We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Chuck Connors, and this is Tin Can Alley. An exciting new electronic target game that truly tests your marksmanship from as far away as 25 feet.
Good evening.
Good morning.
Good Lord, is it morning?
Yes, yes it is. And if you don't mind a stupid question, who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Jack. Jack Triple.
Elvis Presley departed for his...
My friend likes Three's Company. I don't see the appeal of it for me. It's not my type of show. My friend likes it.
his final tour on the 23rd of March. Despite being in poor health, the king of rock and roll embarked on an aggressive national tour just 1 month after a series of dates throughout the South. The shows were marred by Elvis's declining condition. Disappointed fans and music journalists alike remarked that the singer was lethargic and difficult to understand. He would have to be hospitalized partway through the tour and have to cancel several dates before playing his final show on June 26th at the Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Indiana. One day after Elvis left for his final...
That is heartening. That is so heartbreaking. To know that the final tour you try to go on, if you're Elvis, like you have the spirit of Elvis was around, to know that he had such decline in health that his final tour is looked on so poorly because of his health, and that's his end. That is fucking heartbreaking.
A string of performances, Lily Tomlin became the first woman to appear in a solo Broadway show. Appearing Nightly, which Tomlin co-wrote with Jane Wagner, debuted at the Biltmore Theater on the 24th. She would go on to win a Tony Award for her work on the show. 2 Boeing 747s collided on the runway at Tenerife Airport in Spain on March 27th. The crash occurred due to a miscommunication that caused one aircraft to initiate takeoff while the other was still in its path. The collision claimed the line...
Was the miscommunication? Could the other one not? Could one not see the other? Because the one that's about to take off shouldn't have. If the other one was visible, I don't know what went wrong here. I don't even know how this happens. This is some miscommunication we didn't have, and that we didn't. This could happen today. I just would think the miscommunication would get way more scrutiny, probably, because there's easy ways to fix the issue.
Lives of 583 people, making it the worst accident.
583 people. Fucking hell. Oh my God, that is heartbreaking.
In aviation history. Returning to sports, the Seattle Mariners kicked off the month of April by playing their first game ever on the 6th. The expansion team was added to the American League as the result of a lawsuit that originated when the Seattle Pilots were purchased and relocated to Milwaukee by Bud Selig. The team became the Brewers, one of only 6 teams in Major League Baseball that has yet to win a World Series, along with the Mariners.
I'm sorry. That is amazing. There's only 6 teams in the World Series that have yet to win a World Series, and unfortunately they're one of them. Oh, that must suck for a team. You just want to be the one that does it. You just want to be the one that brings a World Series to them finally, and you just can't do it.
It was a month of firsts for Major League Baseball, as the Toronto Blue Jays played their first game the very next day. Initially one of 2 Canadian-based teams, today the Blue Jays are the only organization in the MLB located outside the United States, after the Montreal Expos became the Washington Nationals in 2005.
The most known team, a team I want to go see. I just don't. I'm not in Toronto enough. I've been in Toronto once my whole life, and I'm not going unless I go with someone. So.
Sorry, Canada. Author Alex Haley won the Pulitzer Prize on April 18th for his work on the iconic novel Roots, a fictionalized version of Haley's own family history. The best-selling novel was adapted into a record-breaking miniseries earlier the same year.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Well, bye.
The beloved musical Annie opened for the first time at New York City's Elvin Theater 3 days later, on the 21st. Based on the long-running comic strip, Little Orphan Annie, the musical ran for a record-setting 6 years, scoring 7 Tony Awards. The musical has been adapted several times, most notably into the 1982 John Huston film featuring Albert Finney and Carol Burnett. Moving into the summer, volatile screen legend Joan Crawford passed away on the 10th of May in her apartment in New York City. One of the biggest stars of Hollywood's golden age, the controversial actress had become a recluse in her later years and had withdrawn almost entirely from the public eye. Crawford's acrimonious relationship with her children, particularly her eldest daughter, led to the infamous tell-all book Mommy Dearest, later adapted into a film starring Faye Dunaway. A young DJ named Howard Stern began broadcasting at WRNW in New York on Friday the 13th. Stern had initially served as a part-time host, filling in during the holiday season the previous year, but took over a 4-hour midday shift 6 days a week. It was the beginning of Stern's career as a notorious shock jock, which is still going strong nearly 50 years later.
The problem is that Coors beer, you take that east of Texas, and that's bootlegging.
I believe you're just a little bit scared.
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
A little short for a stormtrooper.
Huh? One of the most famous movie series, one of the most famous franchises in Hollywood movie history. The beginning of Star Wars.
Oh, the uniform.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
You're who?
I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi, where is he?
Come on.
Amateur mountain climber.
The fact that hasn't gotten more attention. Star Wars is Star Wars. Star Wars was one of them fucking movie series that changed action figure history, changed history, the way we all look at movies. It has done some shit that that's good and bad. I've seen some fucking... Oh, what's the one I keep forgetting its name. Star Wars fans, if you're watching, what is the character in the one, like, prequel type movie that is, like, so fucking unbearable? You'll know which one I'm talking about if you're a Star Wars fan. You'll know which one I'm talking about. What is the one that just cannot be, like, the most hated character in, like, the prequel one? You'll know which one it is. Once I say it, I just can't think of which one it is. What his name was.
George Willig made history on May 26th when he climbed the South Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City using specialized equipment he developed specifically for the climb. The completely unsanctioned stunt took nearly 4 hours, and Willig was arrested the instant he reached the top of the tower.
Of course he was.
However, the stunt had captured national attention and made Willig a celebrity, earning him several television appearances and the nickname The Human Fly.
In fairness, yeah, that would be my thing. If I was arresting him, I'd be like, you know what? I have to arrest you, but that's very impressive. Very impressive. I could not be impressed by that.
He was ultimately let off with a slap on the wrist, a fine of 1 penny per floor he'd climbed, for a grand total of $1.10. Punk band...
Who came up with that theory? Who came up with that? Okay, I got it. I got it. It's gonna really get to him. I'm gonna charge you a penny for every floor you climbed.
The Sex Pistols released their second single, God Save the Queen, the next day. The song, which contains incendiary lyrics about Queen Elizabeth II and monarchies in general, and was pointedly released during the Queen's Silver Jubilee, was immediately banned by the BBC and many other radio stations in the United Kingdom. But it wasn't just radio stations that were offended. Singer Johnny Rotten and drummer Paul Cook were both attacked on separate occasions by random Brits enraged by the song. That kind of seems pretty punk. God Save the Queen holds the dubious distinction of being one of the most banned records in the history of music. Speaking of notoriety, James Earl Ray, the man convicted of assassinating Martin Luther King Jr., escaped from Tennessee's Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary on the 10th of June.
How did you not keep that motherfucker on guard? How was he given a chance to escape?
Ray fled the prison with 6 other inmates, but he was quickly recaptured 3 days later
Good.
after being tracked down by bloodhounds.
Good.
It was actually the second time Ray had broken out of jail. He previously escaped from the Missouri State Penitentiary in 1967 by hiding in a bread truck, where he'd been serving a 20-year sentence for armed robbery, and was...
This guy's an absolute fucking... This man's able to escape prison twice. That's bad. That's bad prison. You don't want that. You don't want that only that people can't escape from it, because people will keep trying.
Still on the run when he took the civil rights leader's life. Just over 2 weeks later, the Supreme Court ruled in a 5-4 decision allowing lawyers to advertise their services. That probably seems weird, because most of us can't conceive of a world in which we don't have the commercial jingle of our hometown personal injury law firm memorized. But prior to that ruling, lawyers were bound by an antiquated Bar Association tradition that argued they should build up their clientele through good work and word of mouth. Oh, those are antiquated ideals. Billboards, bus ads, and...
That is interesting. So... It was believed that lawyers should gain services by good work and through word of mouth, and not by any sort of promotion. That is interesting.
Local TV spots haven't been the same since.
Hounds of justice!
Vladimir Nabokov kicked off the month of July by, well, kicking off. The Russian-American
Why did you put it that way? The man kicked off the year by kicking off. Like, why did you word that way?
novelist and author of the controversial 1955 novel Lolita passed away on the 2nd at age 78 at the Montreux Palace Hotel in Switzerland. He had been in the middle of working on a new novel titled The Original of Laura, which was published in its incomplete form in 2009.
Huh. That's interesting. So you can... They released the book incomplete. They just released the incomplete version. What a very interesting choice.
Triple X. Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British hand up, son.
We'll be right back.
I drink Dr. Pepper and I'm proud. I'm part of an original crowd. And if you look around these days, there seems to be a Dr. Pepper craze. I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper, we're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper. If you drink Dr. Pepper, you're a pepper too. Be a pepper, drink Dr. Pepper. Be a pepper, drink.
The CIA...
That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. That was one of the best commercials I've ever seen. Be a pepper.
CIA unwillingly revealed its involvement in mind control experiments after 20,000 pages of documents were discovered following a Freedom of Information Act request on July 15th. CIA Director Richard
Motherfucker! The man revealed reluctantly. Didn't even want to reveal the fact they were involved in mind control experiments. What the fuck?
Helms had previously ordered the destruction of all documents related to the project, known as MK Ultra. But this cache of documents had been misfiled or hidden, leading to their discovery. The project involved the study of the effects of different drugs and procedures on humans, with the goal of identifying ways to make subjects more pliable during interrogation. MK Ultra has subsequently been the basis of several conspiracy theories, and 1 or 2 TV shows as well. Powering up the month of August, President Carter established the U.S. Department of Energy on the 4th. The move was intended to help America recover from the unprecedented energy crisis of the 1970s by promoting energy development, conservation and regulation and decreasing the nation's dependence on fossil fuels, as many Americans were still feeling the effects of the 1973 oil embargo. The DOE was tasked with researching new energy technologies, as well as supporting nuclear weapons research. So, you know, it wasn't all about putting solar panels on the White House. 6 days later, David Berkowitz, aka the Son of Sam, was arrested while leaving his home in Yonkers. The 24-year-old Berkowitz had
Look at that man's... Hold on.
Was arrested while leaving his home in Yonkers.
Look at that man's face. The Son of Sam has no care, no remorse, no nothing all in his face. Doesn't care at all.
The 24-year-old Berkowitz had terrorized New York City for an entire year by ambushing unsuspecting victims, usually couples, and opening fire on them with a .44 caliber handgun. Berkowitz was convicted and sentenced to 6 life sentences. 5 days later, a notorious Nazi escaped from custody, hidden inside a suitcase. Herbert Kappler, the head of the SS in Rome during World War II, was carried out of an Italian hospital by his wife. Kappler had been serving a life sentence in a military prison in Italy after being convicted by a war tribunal, but had been transferred to the hospital after he was diagnosed with cancer. Because of his rapidly declining condition, the West German government declined to extradite him back to Italy, and he succumbed to his illness just 6 months after his escape. No word on whether he was carried out of his home in a fabulous luggage set. 1 day later, the king of rock and roll passed away at his home in Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis Presley was found unresponsive on the floor of his Graceland mansion, having succumbed to a heart attack at the age of 42. He was buried on the grounds of Graceland, which remains open to this day as a tourist attraction.
I would hate to have been the one that found him. You find Elvis dead, like that would be one hell of a find. That would not be something I'd want to find.
A more welcome departure occurred 4 days later, when NASA launched the Voyager 2 probe on August 20th towards Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus. To date, Voyager 2 is the only craft to visit the 2 furthest planets of our solar system, and it's still functioning. It left the solar system in 2018, and despite a few hiccups, it remains in contact with Earth as it continues on its interstellar mission. Comedy icon Groucho Marx delivered his...
What's it doing? It's just traveling in the space? Is there a reason it's still up there? Like, is there a goal with it?
His final punchline on the 19th at age 86. One of the most recognizable stars of his era, thanks to his trademark eyebrows and mustache and perpetual cigar, Groucho's rapid-fire delivery and dizzying wordplay helped make the Marx Brothers a household name.
Hello? I must be going.
Bridging the gap into September, President Carter signed the Panama Canal Treaties on the 7th. The treaties would turn over control of the canal to Panama after 1999, but also guarantee the United States the right to defend neutral access to the canal in perpetuity. The decision was controversial. Many prominent political figures, including future President Ronald Reagan, viewed it as relinquishing a valuable asset to a potential enemy. But the treaties were upheld, and jurisdiction of the canal was handed over to Panama on December 31st, 1999. 3 days later, France sent the last person to the guillotine when Hamida Jandoubi was executed on the 10th. Jandoubi had been convicted in the abduction and slaying of Elisabeth Bousquet earlier that year. His sentence marked the final time the guillotine was used for capital punishment in France. 4 years later, France would outlaw the death penalty altogether. Atari released their first game console, the Atari 2600, on September 11th. Initially called Atari VCS, or Video Computer System, the console quickly became the dominant force in home gaming, and would remain at the top for the next several years, until a certain mustachioed plumber came along.
You almost closed the book.
Stunned. It was beautiful. Come on, admit it.
Welcome aboard the Love Boat. The what? Oh, that's just a little nickname we have. Doctor, in my presence, don't ever call this ship a love boat.
The supersonic Concorde jet made its first landing in New York City on October 20th, touching down at 11:12 a.m. at Kennedy International Airport. The jet took off from Toulouse, France, making the 3,800-mile trip across the Atlantic Ocean in 3 hours and 45 minutes. Despite the appeal of a high-speed transatlantic flight, the Concorde was met with stiff opposition from New York City residents, who objected to the incredibly high decibel levels the plane generated during takeoff. It's tough to argue with them. The plane generated actual sonic booms, like a Street Fighter II character. Speaking of planes, 3 members of the southern rock band Leonard Skinner perished when their chartered Convair 240 crashed in Mississippi that same day. The band was flying from South Carolina to Louisiana for a show when their plane ran out of fuel and had to make an emergency landing. The airline collided with the tree line and broke apart. Lead vocalist Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, and Gaines' sister, backup vocalist Cassie Gaines, died instantly, along with both pilots and the band's tour manager. Popular singer...
That is one brutal plane crash. 6 people died in it, all because they ran out of fuel.
And Oscar-winning actor Bing Crosby crooned his final song on October 14th. One of the most popular entertainers of the first half of the 20th century, Crosby collapsed on a golf course in Spain after playing 18 holes, succumbing to a heart attack at age 74. President Carter raised the U.S. minimum wage to $3.35 an hour on the first day of November, just in time for Black Friday. The new figure was $1.05 higher than the previous minimum wage of $2.30, an increase of nearly 50%. That's no small potatoes. Or peanuts. You know, because we're talking...
They're about to up the minimum wage in Ontario on Sunday? Monday? Sunday? I think it's October 1st, which is Sunday, I think.
Thinking about Jimmy Carter.
Okay, listen. I like it. We could dance together. That's it. We could just dance together. I don't know, nothing more, nothing personal. I don't want you coming on to me. Because I don't think guys like you anymore, for one thing.
English folk musician Cat Stevens converted to Islam on December 23rd, leaving the music industry behind him for the next 2 decades. Following a near-death experience the previous year and what he later described as a lifelong search for spiritual meaning, Stevens subsequently changed his name to Yusuf Islam. With the exception of a charity concert in Wembley Stadium in 1979, he did not perform again for 25 years. Arguably one of the most famous entertainers to have ever lived, Charlie Chaplin passed away on Christmas Day at age 88. The silent film star dominated Hollywood in its early years, but he left the United States after a series of controversies and permanently relocated to Switzerland in the 1950s. The events of his life would later be dramatized in the 1992 film Chaplin, directed by Richard Attenborough, the guy from Jurassic Park, and starring Robert Downey Jr. Infamous serial killer Ted Bundy escaped from prison.
What are the 2 escapes from known serial killers this year in 77? Two people escaped. The killer who did Robert Downey Jr. and Ted Bundy. How did both of them fucking escape prison?
On the second to last day of 1977, climbing out through the ceiling of his Colorado jail cell. Bundy had been awaiting trial and had already escaped once before, leaping from a courthouse library in Aspen back in June. However, while he was quickly apprehended that first time, he would stay on the run for nearly 3 months, during which time his victim count would continue to rise.
Yep.
And so 1977 came to a close.
Oh boy, 1977 was one hell of a year. A lot of events. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.